Hi guys, we have many different news to talk about today. Primarily, we're going to be focused around SUI ecosystem, some really quick updates around Bitcoin and Fractal, as well as other ecosystems. So let's get started immediately. First things first, let's cover Bitcoin. Honestly, there's not really much to talk about. Fractal has been going on pretty steady for the last couple of weeks, so it has seemingly bottomed out around $6-7, and if it's going to follow a similar trajectory, just like BRC20s did in the summer of 23, then we might be looking at a very calm couple of weeks, maybe even months. But again, if you want to position yourself for Bitcoin ecosystem stuff, now might just be the good time, because of course this chart is looking very, very non-existent. So yeah, basically just follow everything we've talked about in the last two months of Bitcoin ecosystem stuff, mint, inscribe, position yourself for some new tokens potentially that can do multiples. Of course, for that you need to be in some communities that understand these things, but yeah, more on that later. The Bitcoin stuff has not been really the main focus over the last couple of days. Just super quick reminders that you have one more day until October 18th to connect and register for Wallet Connect airdrop. So if you've ever been using this wallet, you need to make sure to finish this on time, because there's definitely going to be an airdrop in the next couple of months. Then regarding some bridge airdrops, another reminder that the Bungee Balls is currently ongoing, their program. If you've used Socket technology, for example, Bungee as a bridge, or some other of their dApps, then definitely use your email or emails if you're using multiple wallets, and sign up for their Bungee beta. Then you also have news from Jumper moving into other bridges. If you are interested in some stablecoin yields, you can get a really nice juicy 18 to 20% yield on Anzen Finance. They also have a points program, and you can get extra multipliers if you have Jumper loyalty pass boosts. So if you have this pass, you can get really nice boosts if you, depending on your level on your Jumper loyalty pass. Moving into some layer 2 news. So for the next couple of hours, it is very, very time sensitive, but you might still have a chance to mint this trustless verifiable randomness, which is basically a DAI NFT on the Scroll network, which is not free. It costs about $12-13. But if you're trying to get those last check marks in before the Scroll snapshot of October 19th, this one might be a multiplier. Of course, it is not financial advice. It might be nothing, but at the end of the day, you might just end up selling it for a profit on elements, so you never know. And regarding the Optimism, we were all pleasantly surprised with Optimism number 5, which was very, very simple to qualify for, just some on-chain activity. So if you think that maybe Optimism future airdrops will be with similar criteria, you can farm some layer 3 cubes as well as potentially Optimism with the layer 3 quests presented here. You have until November 4th to finish all the quests. And finally, Fuel Network has finally went into mainnet, but there's actually not any news or updates regarding airdrop or tokens. So yeah, we'll keep you posted when we have more news regarding this. And then we have some PerpDex news. So Reya network is seemingly launching a token very, very soon. So that's great news. Hopefully it will be a good airdrop, considering it was not very farmed, and potentially it is a layer 2 that might actually bring something. And recently it is also integrated with the Rage Trade interface. So even though the points program for Rage Trade are currently ended, it is definitely better to simply use this UI other than just Reya interface, because it is a 2-in-1 if they return the program at some point in the future. And from Stormtrade, they've also launched their token just yesterday on October 16th. So if you've been farming this one, of course, this was also relatively underfarmed, but maybe there will be something of a banger here as well. And lastly, before we jump into SUI, the Puff Dragon is having its final dilemma or trilemma, where you have to choose one of the options for next week. If you're going to either burn your Puff tokens to get some Cook is going to be the upcoming token for Mental Network. You can either store your Puff for 6 months and get some Mental ETH in return, or you can alternatively just hold on to your Puff for this week, and then you're also going to share some amount of tokens among the pool. Currently, the numbers are looking like this. There's 225 million Cook tokens only shared between 100 million deposits, and then you also have 22.5 million shared between just under 40 million in deposits for option number 2, and 40 million of share is going to be sharing 2.5 million. So purely mathematically, maybe it makes the most sense to burn the tokens at current points, but either way, the multiplier just keeps going down. So if you're going to make a choice, make it quickly, because yeah, you're going to be receiving a smaller multiplier the more time passes. For me, personally, I just went with 1 and 3, 50-50. We'll see what happens. Now, when it comes to ecosystems that we should focus on for the next couple of months, everybody has to make their own plan, of course. But for me personally, I've had my eye out on Ton, Aptos, SUI for the better half of the year. And thankfully, that worked out really well. And most of the whales that we are in contact with, they also have similar rotation plan. So Solana, SUI, Aptos, Sei, Ton. Sei has some incredible technology when it comes to parallelized execution between Cosmos and EVM. So a lot of whales are also looking into Sei. We might need to pay closer attention to this. However, this is actually a very, very good outlook of how perhaps capital might rotate in the next couple of months. Now, if you want to be a part of a community which discusses these kind of things on a daily basis, of course, we've recently created a SUI ecosystem tab. We've been very, very active in Aptos for quite a while now. But of course, as the mainnet is approaching very, very soon on October 19th, they're teasing us with some of these posts, community first, Aptos forever. So hopefully something comes of Aptos. But either way, if you're interested in these kinds of conversations, topics, and to be in the know with some of the real alpha is talked about daily, our Discord is the place to be. Everything you need to know is on our subscriptions page with monthly, yearly plans, as well as an airdrop tracking application to help keep you updated with everything and easiest way of tracking. And finally, of course, we have an NFT giving you 10% passive income monthly, which has been going crazy. First results are in. We're talking days, so stay tuned for that. All right, so SUI. Now, this has been a really, really beautiful surprise over the last couple of days. If you've been active in SUI ecosystem, make sure to cash in your DEEPBook NFT for tokens, because of course, if you haven't sold yet, you would be much, much better off than most of us who sold here and here. So definitely do that. It's about $1,500 per wallet. And all you had to do was simply take part in SUI ecosystem. So if you want to take part in SUI ecosystem, currently looking at price, it's broken all-time high just this week, and now it's in a bit of a correction. Most of the Solana whales who went into SUI are slowly rotating back into Solana, so it might be a relatively good buying opportunity to get exposure into SUI over the next couple of weeks. Now, if you're going to be focused on SUI, first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need a SUI wallet. And the one that I've been using for the last 2 years is the one that was first and from the SUI Foundation. It is literally just called SUI Wallet, and you can get it on Chrome Store or on any other supported provider, and it will be in the description of the video. Of course, all the links we always talk about is always in the first link of the description of the video. It takes you to a website where all the links we talk about are. And the easiest way to actually buy SUI tokens is on the supported centralized exchanges. You simply send them over to your SUI wallet and you're ready to get started. First thing I would recommend is to potentially stake some SUI tokens. In my case, some of my wallets only staked about 20 SUI tokens, and they also qualified for DEEPBook, so that was crazy. But yeah, definitely start with SUI tokens. Probably more than 25 will be necessary for future airdrops. Maybe let's use the similar criteria for Cosmos. Potentially about $150 to $250 of SUI stake tokens per wallet is somehow a recommended number. Now, regarding the DeFi on SUI, you can perhaps take a page out of the DEEPBook, no pun intended. But yes, some of their projects are actually one of the best projects on SUI, such as Aftermath, Reya. Actually, Reya has been bugging for the last couple of weeks, but hopefully they get things in order. Cetus is the main DEX and AMM on Aptos and SUI, so you definitely should not go wrong with this one, and this is the one we'll be talking about the most in the video as well. But first things first, if you actually want to get exposure to any new ecosystem, the easiest way to figure out what to do is to simply go to DeFi Llama, find under Chains category, you simply type in SUI, and here you will see all the top projects with the best and highest TVL, some percentage growth, but that is not so relevant as much as this is. You want to position yourself in the top 10 projects which don't have a token just now. If you want to go a little more degen, a little more risk on, then you can even position yourself in some of the top 20. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to stick with blue chips, as blue as they get. And we're going to be talking about Cetus, about Scallop, and we're going to be talking about some strategies that you can use today to best position yourself for SUI. So yeah, Cetus is the biggest on the network, and usually those provide the best yield, even though it already has a token and it doesn't have any initiative to use it other than great yields. This was the one that was absolutely insane on day one. You could get like 4 to 5k APR on deep SUI pairs, and TVL to liquidity was through the roof, right? So volume was, I think, a couple million and only about 150 to 200,000 in value locked, right, in liquidity. So whenever you're doing stuff in DeFi, you always want to find pairs that have huge volume, so huge amount of swaps, and low liquidity, which means few depositors, so that this crazy amount of fees is of course shared between the fewest amount of people. This is why the APRs are so huge. Now, this might be a little outdated. It doesn't update all the time, but still, this is a real printer, and if Deep actually decides to stay relatively stable around the 3-cent mark, then this might actually be the best place to park your capital on SUI for this explosive first few days. Of course, this can change all the time, and if you perhaps want some safer pairs, you can always rotate and look at liquidity. So which one has the highest liquidity? Of course, usually it's a native project token like SUI and stablecoin. So this one usually has the most liquidity at 20 million, offering very juicy APR. Honestly, 200% is great. Just always remember to check what are actually the rewards. Sometimes they are super inflationary. We all know what happened with SushiSwap. So yeah, you need to keep an eye out on that your rewards are not super diluted by inflation. We will do a wrap up of all strategies in the end, but for now, let's move on to strategy number 3, and that has to do with SUIland. So SUIland actually has a points program, and you can get some really nice looping strategies by simply depositing and borrowing against your deposit. So in this case, you can get an 8%-ish APR, and of course, the borrow APR is always higher than the deposit, but considering that there are rewards, then this kind of balances itself out, and you're just in a potentially opportunity to really just loop a huge amount of capital on a stable pair. Of course, if you're going to do this, never do it with a, for example, SUI deposit and stablecoin borrow, because if SUI drops in value dramatically, you might get liquidated. So always do this with zero impermanent loss. So if you're going to deposit SUI, make sure to also borrow SUI, or if you're going to deposit a stablecoin, make sure to borrow a stablecoin, since the stablecoin DPEG is much less likely than just SUI dropping in value, right? And then you also have another isolated asset here. So if you got your DEEPBook airdrop, or if you want to buy it, you can also get a single-sided staking for about 142% APR, which is pretty decent as well. And seems that the borrow APR on this is incredibly low. What is this, 20%? So perhaps if you're bullish on Deep and you want to buy these prices, then definitely consider looping this strategy as well. Now, the final strategy has to do with, of course, liquid staking, and that is probably the simplest way to get exposure to projects on SUI. You have a couple of these. So you have Hadel. We talked about this one a couple months ago, so not much has really changed. This is incredibly straightforward. You have SUI in your wallet, simply liquid stake it, and then you can use it further in DeFi. There are some examples of where you can use it here on their website as well, but again, the simplest way to figure out where to actually deploy your capital is on DeFi Llama. The alternative to the Hadel for liquid staking is Aftermath. They also have their Aftermath liquid stake token, but of course this one has a little less liquidity, so be on the lookout for that. The third option is VoloSUI, but again, we talked about all of this in our last video, and it's incredibly straightforward. Just go to their website and then you liquid stake, and you have your liquid stake token, which you can either swap for something and use in DeFi further, but in general, those are the main 3 strategies that we're going to be using. Oh yeah, one last thing before the wrap up. So yours truly lost about $500 in impermanent loss the other day, because I was trying for 2 hours to disconnect a website from this stupid wallet, but it turns out that it's not like here somewhere where you would expect. I got spoiled by Rabbi, who does this automatically. No, instead you have to go here and disconnect here. So in hopes to save you 2 hours of your life, yeah, do this if you want to disconnect and change the wallet, because yeah, it can be crucial to quickly rebalance pairs in a highly liquid and volatile environments. And yeah, just don't be as stupid as I was that day. All right, so all jokes aside, let's recap the strategies. First things first, get your SUI and put them in the wallet. You can stake them on the platform directly. I would recommend using some of the more reputable validators. I went with Aftermath. Maybe that was the reason I got some of those deep airdrops. I don't know, because they are a DEEPBook DEX. Either way, just stake in the platform like this directly. You can liquid stake with some of these projects like Hadel, Aftermath, VoloSUI, and others. Strategy number 3 is to provide liquidity on Cetus, which is probably the most reputable AMM DEX on Aptos and SUI with some remarkable yields at the moment. And final strategy is to simply loop your assets for a really decent APR on SUI land. Of course, there are quadrillion other strategies. We discuss these in our Discord. So if this is something that interests you, make sure to consider joining. And yeah, that's basically everything. Finally, one piece of quite an interesting curiosity is that, a bit out of the blue, but $500 million in funding for Praxis, which is going to be the modernized tech city built in the middle of the desert, as far as I remember. So yeah, this is crazy. So yeah, just want to throw it out there. And that's a wrap for all the topics for today. If you like the content, make sure to like and subscribe with bell notifications on. Any questions or comments, I'm waiting for you in the comment section below. If you're serious about crypto, we're waiting for you in our Discord. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have an amazing day.